Alright, my tricks. So this is just an alternative method to factorizing a cubic equation using something called synthetic division. I did put a video up, or a video link up on the Google Classroom of an American guy doing the process. So I just want to show you with the examples that you got in your worksheets. So it says here, solve for x, and it gives you 4 questions, and then you can see the original sort of factor method, the inspection method that was used in the notes and from your textbook, one of the methods from the textbook. So I'm going to do the same questions, but just show you'll get the same answers using the synthetic division. I just find it's quite a nice way if you're not so good at factorizing. It does help you a little bit. All right, so you do have to work with the same factor inspection where you try and see which are the factors of the constant. So in the first question, it's 12. Which of the factors of 12 will give you 0 when you substitute it in for x? So in this case, the factor that will give you 0 is 2. So if you put 2 cubed minus 2 squared minus 8 times 2 plus 12, it will get your left-hand side to equal your right-hand side of 0. All right, so then we say that our factor is x minus 2, but we are looking at the actual number that we've substituted in is 2. So we're going to write that number down and then start the synthetic division. So we're going to put the number there, 2, and then draw like a little box around it. Right, then we're going to take each of the coefficients of the equation and write them down. So the coefficient of x cubed is 1. Coefficient of negative x squared is negative 1. Then it's negative 8. And then we take the constant of 12. Then you're going to drop this 1 down. And then you're going to draw yourself a line there. Okay, then you go. 2 times 1 is 2. Then you're going to add these two. Negative 1 plus 2 is 1. And then you're going to have 2 times 2 again is 2. Negative 8 minus 2, negative 8 plus positive 2 is negative 6. And then we have 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. When you add those together, we get 0, which means we don't have a remainder, which is good. All right, so then that is going to give you your coefficients of your trinomial. It's going to be x squared plus x minus 6. Right, and you can see that is the same from that previous method from the worksheets. All right, and then your factor, your x minus 2, because 2 gave you an answer of 0. And then you factorize your trinomial as you would in grade 9, 10, and 11. So x, and then you pick your constants factors that are going to both multiply to get your constant and add or subtract to get your middle term. So we're going to have 3 and 2, and we're going to have plus and minus. So therefore our answer is x equals 2 or x equals negative 3, as per the answer from the original worksheet. All right, so let's do this with your next question. The next question was x cubed minus 12x minus 16 equals 0. So again, you've got to test factors of negative 16 that when you put it into the question, it's going to make your left-hand side equal to 0. So in this case, when you use the number negative 2, you're going to get an answer of 0. So your binomial bracket's going to be x plus 2 later on when we work with it. It's one of the factors. So for now, we're going to use that negative 2 in a little block, and we're going to pull down all the coefficients, 1. And then don't forget that there should be an x squared in here, but there's a 0x squared, so we have a 0, then we have a negative 12, and then we have a negative 16. So you must always have 4 numbers across here. And then we're going to bring our 1 down, and then it's going to be our negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. 0 plus negative 2 is negative 2. Then it's negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Negative 12 plus 4 is going to get you to negative 8. And then you're going to work with negative 2 times negative 8 is positive 16. And that gets you your 0 at your end. Your constant must cancel out at the end. So then these are our coefficients for our trinomial. So we have x squared minus 2x minus 8. That is our trinomial. So that one goes with the x squared, that one with the x, that's the constant. And then we have our original factor of x plus 2, which was our testing factor to get 0. And then that's when you factorize your trinomial, and you get your 3 answers as you had over here. In this case, it still ends up being a repeated one, so you only have 2 final answers. Okay, for the next one. So using, again, the synthetic division instead of the inspection factor method, we're going to work with x cubed minus x squared minus 22x plus 40 equal to 0. So now if I use the number 2, it gets my left-hand side to be equal to my right-hand side of 0. So my binomial will be x minus 2 later on. But this 2 is what I'm focused on. The positive 2 that we use to make 0. And then we're going to bring down the coefficients of each. So 1, negative 22, and our constant of 40. Drop that first one down. And then it's going to be 2 times 1 is 2. Negative 1 plus 2 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Negative 22 plus 2 is negative 20. And then 2 times negative 20 is negative 40. And our final one becomes 0 when we add them. All right, so then that's your coefficients. It's going to be x squared plus x minus 20. So same as what was there. And then our factor bracket to get our binomial. And then you factorize the trinomial and you get your 3 answers, like in the question over here. Right, the last one using this method. It's x cubed minus x squared minus 5x minus 3 equals to 0. So again, we're going to test our factor of negative 3 that works, and it's negative 1. So my binomial that I'll work with later is positive 1. Right, so it's always the opposite sign to what you've worked with to test. So we're going to use that negative 1 though in our synthetic division. We're going to bring down all our coefficients and our constants. We drop that first one down. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 plus negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 1 times negative 2 is positive 2. And negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. Negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3, and that equates to 0. So then we have our trinomial is 1x squared minus 2x minus 3, and our original bracket binomial, and that's how you get your trinomial and your binomial. Your trinomial you'll then factorize into x and x, 3 and 1, minus and plus. So therefore x equals 3 or x equals negative 1, just like was in that final answer. All right, so it's just an alternate method to be able to get that trinomial which some people battle with.